Whoa, what happened? I found myself living boat life at opposite extremes in the same day. This is Bums on a Boat, and you caught us in a bit of a transition. So I just took this camera outside of the cabin that I'm staying in, and there's AC in each one. This is a 4-bedroom Privilege 585. It's a catamaran, newer boat, owner's edition. And when I took the camera outside of this room, it completely fogged up. I couldn't film anything. It's not even 7 a.m. yet, and it's hot outside. It's muggy, it's humid, and it is hot. As soon as I leave this room, it's like, whoa. And I think it wouldn't be so obviously hot if I didn't have AC, because I am not used to AC. Here in Grenada is where we're at, the island of Grenada, Southern Caribbean island, and this is not my boat. Are you hungry, Maya? Oh, you're just like Lola. Always hungry, aren't you? Morning, Rhoda.
Good morning. She's hungry.
Down, Maya. Go on. That's my breakfast. Carl, would you just share a couple words of wisdom?
Well, I think the big thing that we found is that it really doesn't matter the spread.
I met Carl, the owner of Amelia, on Hog Island. He actually approached Michael and I because of Lola, our dog. He was amazed at how much Maya over here looks like Lola. And then he just sparked up a conversation. And we actually filmed an amazing episode. Those are his words. Where we talked about the cost and the realities of owning a boat like this. And Michael and I shared our realities of owning Chak Matay. But if you want to check that out, if you haven't seen it, you can meet Carl, get to know all about this boat that I'm staying on. But Carl is going to be gone for 2 years, working for Emirates in Dubai, and he's left his wife, Michelle,
What?
and their crew member, Rhoda.
I'll make chickens later. A lot of chicken.
On the boat to basically hold the fort down and keep everything, all the systems running. And he's going to get to visit every once in a while. Carl and Michelle have said that I can stay on Amelia. Well, I do work on Chak Matay during this transition, which is huge. I mean, it changes everything. So right now, Chak Matay, the bilge is wide open, it's dried out, there's no floorboards, and I'm able to just leave it. The V-berth is like my storage, and I've just got everything out, so I'm going to be able to just leave from here, jump on Chak Matay, and get to work. And that is everything. Not to mention there's AC here. I have my own bathroom, my own shower, you know, a queen-size bed. The bed is so comfortable, and the AC makes such a difference. But, you know, it's going to be experiencing boat life on both two extremes, basically, in a day. And doing it without my babes, Michael. But it's only for a time. This too shall pass. It is a season. To everything turn. What do you got to say there, Maya? Nothing? Allie? You were watching pretty intently. Were you trying to get in there? Thank you, Rhoda.
Yeah. It's already on. So.
It's on already?
Yeah.
Okay. Now that is a lot of water. This thing is already full and I feel like I barely made a dent in how much water's in here. I've just opened up this compartment here underneath the seat and I saw that the water was up right at the battery terminals. And the bilge pump was in the on position. It's always been in the on position since I got here. And when I turned the key and turned the battery on, I assumed it was on a float switch. And so whenever the float switch would activate, it would pump the dinghy out. But the last couple days, it hasn't been able to get on a plane. Well, it has, but it was very difficult to get it on a plane. But yesterday, I could not get it on a plane at all. In our dinghy, the water just collects right there. You can see it. There's no other compartment. In this beast, there's like a hidden compartment where the water collects, so this completely stays dry. And when I finally looked down there, it wasn't good. So apparently they sent this to the mechanic to fix the steering and the bilge pump. And ever since I got here, the bilge pump has been on. Like I said, I assumed the float would activate anyways. It's not. So we're gonna pump it out and investigate. That was the 6th full load, and there's still plenty in there. So there was a lot of water in this bad boy. Oh, yeah, that doesn't look good. So yeah, it's on an automatic float, but that thing wasn't working. Okay, look what else we discovered. This here wire, which goes to the positive right here, which is behind some tape, goes through this fuse, but it's not connected. So right now, only these wires are connected. Iffy, I'd say at best. Like they might need to be cut and redone. The dinghy going down was just a flesh wound, although it did set us back just a bit. So Carl and Michelle were adamant that I don't do any of the work because they already paid for the work to be done. So they're like, Joel, just back off. We're gonna have the boys come in and do what we thought was already done. There must have been a mix-up. So it took the boys a couple of days to work through all the problems. Needed a new battery after it was flooded completely. They installed a new float switch up in the front. You can see, looks like they tried to glue it down with something. So they wired that float switch in. Apparently that float switch stopped working, so they just left that and wired in a different float switch. So the bilge pump is working, so that's good. So while the dinghy was being brought back to life, we were showing Amelia some love. I guess they'd gone a couple months without their washer dryer unit. They have a Bosch unit that washes clothes and dries, all of one unit, and it's been down for a few months. So we actually got to the bottom of that thanks to Craig on MV Conundrum. I'm taking a picture of this Bosch Series 6 washer and dryer unit, and I'm sending it to the rendezvous. This has given us an error code, E:30, and then it flashes to -80. Shout out to Craig, who is a patron of ours, a legend. We share problems we're having and ideas and solutions with each other, as well as all sorts of fun stuff. But thank you, Craig. Who would have thought? We gotta get to this exhaust hose here. It was a really nice snug fit from the wet dry vac to the outtake hose here, so I forced it on and sucked it out, blew it out a bunch of times, and there was a lot of gunk inside of the wet dry vac, so that was good news, like wet soggy hair and some rubber pieces.
I'm excited to try it now.
I am too. I feel pretty good about this.
This is actually probably the most excited I've ever been about running a washing machine in my life.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not.
I have to say, I'm actually there with you. This is.
We'll have to see what happens.
I don't know about you, but I don't see any water in there. We're down to 3 minutes. The error symbol did not come up. Rendezvous, Craig in the house. Let's see what this dinghy can do. Hey, Shocky baby. Guys, it's hot out here, but a lot of it here in Grenada is being in the sun, in the direct sunlight. Brutal. But having a shade cover changes the game. It's actually, I mean, it's not bad here. So we got to thank our buddies Caterpillar for helping us make this shade cover, homemade from scratch. They are actually just about to finish a huge, like, 20-day crossing in the Pacific. They're almost there right now on the finish line, so let's go, baby. But thank you guys for the shade, because whoo, I mean, I wouldn't even be able to hang out up here in the cockpit without the shade. Some of the first things I did once we got the dinghy back was to come check the water levels in the batteries and then to top them off. So they were about half empty. It took about 3 liters to fill 2 batteries, so 1.5 liters per battery. And feeling good that they were not completely empty and completely dry. They were still half in there. We got the refrigerator up and running, and it's nice and cold. We got water in there that's clean and drinkable and just plenty of it. And then I got busy cleaning and sanding the entire bilge, getting it ready for paint. Oh yeah.
And then I remember I was still nervous though, and we're away from a commercial, and my first sketch was Mr. Subliminal. And he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says to me, "Are you sure this is what you want?"
Yeah, what?
First show, you got a good one on.
Yeah, I got a good one, and I started getting recognized right away.
That's the funnest part. I mean, it takes a while to get famous.
But I've been there since August, hanging out.
I was about to say, you actually had some influence here when you started it.
I was with Lauren for a month. I didn't know he come out, and initially it was just me. I was only out there, and then Chevy
How
Chase.
scary that you would go stay with Lauren. And see McCartney and these guys.
McCartney, hanging out every night with McCartney.
Everybody does impressions of Lauren too, you know. Every cast member would do through the generations.
A huge thank you to our loving patron, Uncle Muir, who sent me back to the boat with enough sandpaper to sand Noah's Ark down to Chak Matay. We ran into a couple of snafus, but ultimately we got the job done. One of the main problems was we have Porter cable rechargeable batteries, and we have plenty of awesome tools that run on them. But we only have 1 working battery now because, well, just before we left the boat, our other one died. We used to have 3. So I went all over Grenada looking for these batteries, and they had different brands, but they didn't have Porter cable. So, okay, we had to overcome that. Also, our nice Bosch, the pad underneath disintegrated. So we're gonna need a new one of these pads. I'm getting a little off topic now. There were just a couple little snafus, but mainly I'm so glad that I'm not gonna have to wear the white suit with the jeans underneath and go home really itchy, even when you wear all the long, pants and the long sleeve shirt, you still are itchy all night the next night, but you minimize it, I'm sure. And it's, definitely good to wear. The tool of choice ended up being the multi-tool with this really rough triangular attachment here. The main issue was these edges here where Michael and I did a new fiberglass job recently to strengthen the keel structure, and we did not sand it when we were done with it, so all of this was rough. And it would poke you, there was fibers sticking up. So now it's really smooth transition. You can rub your hand on it. You're not gonna get jabbed or, stabbed, because there was a lot of sharp, pokey areas. So it's nice and sanded, and ready for paint. So our main focus here is to make Michael proud with the prep work. Michael is the queen of prep work. She absolutely loves to sand and clean and get surfaces really squeaky clean and fresh and ready for paint. So I'm just thinking, what would Michael do on most of the process here? So I've really enjoyed this drill. Michael, you would love this thing. Kevin is a neighbor of Joyce, so he's just a friend of ours that gave me this and said, hey, you might need this one day on your flight back. And sure enough, I put it on the drill, and a little soap, a little water, and this just helps really scrub it and clean it. And then I'm going through with some toluene and degreasing all of the surface. And now that I've sanded the fiberglass, it's really smooth. I can rub this towel across it without it snagging constantly on everything, so I can clean the area so much easier. That's nice. So I've returned back to our floating home without my other half.
Whew, it's brisk. Fall is here. It's only the first part of September, but goddamn, it is cold right now.
I started with this particular job because Michael and I have been putting it off for 3 years, ever since Looperon.
All right, guys, today's the day that we've been waiting for months, for a year, basically. I know you've been waiting for it too. So let's get started. Wow! Take 2.
We did this huge fiberglass job, minimal leg restriction, where we reinforced the structure of our keel, our grid structure inside there. And when we were done, we had already been in the boatyard for a year.
1 year ago, we hauled out and discovered old damage to our keel structure. It had been repaired but was now flexing. Due to a previous grounding, there were cracks on the port side where the ribs connect to the stringer. We consulted many qualified individuals in person and online. After a year of gathering information and gaining experience, we are now ready. Flying everywhere. I could hardly even sleep last night. I was so stoked.
We were just like, it's done, it's functional, it looks good. And we didn't want to sand. The idea of sanding fiberglass inside of the boat, you know, after all that. So we just kept saying we'll do it eventually, and actions speak louder than words. We've been putting it off, and that says, you know, we don't really want to do it. Michael's not looking forward to it, I'm sure. So I decided, let's get in, let's just get this done so Michael gets back, and it's done. It's a weight off our shoulders. You know, when you put the floorboards over the top, it's like, it's good. It's the bilge, it's fine. But the fact that you could get poked, it's just a great move all around. It's going to make it easier to clean. It's going to make it look a million times better. And it's going to make it more water resistant. Before we say goodbye, let's get an update on how things are going for Michael as she's working harvest for her parents' family farm.
I can't even feel my fingers anymore. Because when the water turns on, it could just blow it wide open, and then we'd have a problem that I have to fix. Let's go. Out the gate. Turn around. Go on. If they eat too much alfalfa, they can bloat and die. What do you think you spend on fuel per day?
Per day?
It's throwing air codes, and the air codes suggest that it has to do with the injector pump, but it's throwing like 2 or 3 different codes at a time.
I believe we're almost ready.
Here with the man himself, and I'm gonna ask him a couple questions about margins, inputs, the whole numbers behind this farming game, and a couple of you have wanted to know what it's been like since the war in Ukraine has been going on.
I've been thinking a lot about that question you asked me, because I think the real question Michael's trying to ask is, why in the hell am I doing sprinklers if there's no money in it? There's not a lot of input costs other than labor, because by the time you irrigate a field, Michael, she's expensive. Cows have been struggling. You know, the poor people at the grocery store are paying monstrous dollars for a T-bone steak. It's insane what you have to pay at the grocery store for beef. But on the grower end, we're still at the $1.30, $40, $50 per pound when we're trying to sell our calves at the end of the year.
So these are just a few of the highlights. We've actually decided to share the entire day, uncut, unedited, raw, so Michael's day in the life, with our patrons for free. So go check out our patron page if you want to be more in the loop. I miss her more than you guys, but I'm sure you miss her presence in the episode a lot. Thank you for watching. Let Michael know how much you miss her in the comments, and if you're new here, subscribe. See you next time.
These are the tales of Boab.
Well,